Chapter 15. Saddlemaking. When Eragon's eyes opened, the memory of Garrow's death crashed down on him. He pulled the blankets over his head and cried quietly under their warm darkness. It felt good just to lie there, to hide from the world outside. Eventually the tears stopped. He cursed Brom. Then he reluctantly wiped his cheeks and got up. Brom was making breakfast. "Good morning," he said. Eragon grunted in reply. He jammed his cold fingers in his armpits and crouched by the fire until the food was ready. They ate quickly, trying to consume the food before it lost its warmth. When he finished, Eragon washed his bowl with snow, then spread the stolen leather on the ground. "What are you going to do with that?" asked Brom. "We can't carry it with us." "I'm going to make a saddle for Saphira." Said Brom, moving forward. "Well, dragons used to have two kinds of saddles. The first was hard and moulded like a horse's saddle, but those take time and tools to make, neither of which we have. The other was thin and lightly padded, nothing more than an extra layer between the rider and dragon. Those saddles were used whenever speed and flexibility were important, though they weren't nearly as comfortable as the moulded ones. Do you know what they looked like?" asked Eragon. "Better, I can make one." "Then please do," said Eragon, standing aside. "Very well, but pay attention. Someday you'll have to do this for yourself." With Saphira's permission, Brom measured her neck and chest. Then he cut 5 bands out of the leather and outlined a dozen or so shapes on the hides. Once the pieces had been sliced out, he cut what remained of the hides into long cords. Brom used the cords to sew everything together, but for each stitch 2 holes had to be bored through the leather. Eragon helped with that. Intricate knots were rigged in place of buckles, and every strap was made extra long so the saddle would still fit Saphira in the coming months. The main part of the saddle was assembled from 3 identical sections sewn together with padding between them. Attached to the front was a thick loop that would fit snugly around one of Saphira's neck spikes, while the wide bands sewn on either side would wrap up around her belly and tie underneath. Taking the place of stirrups was a series of loops running down both bands. Tightened, they would hold Eragon's legs in place. A long strap was constructed to pass between Saphira's front legs, split in 2 and then come up behind her front legs to rejoin with the saddle. While Brom worked, Eragon repaired his pack and organised their supplies. The day was spent by the time their tasks were completed. Weary from his labour, Brom put the saddle on Saphira and checked to see that the straps fit. He made a few small adjustments, then took it off, satisfied. "You did a good job," Eragon acknowledged grudgingly. Brom inclined his head. "One tries his best. It should serve you well. The leather's sturdy enough." "Aren't you going to try it out?" asked Saphira. "Maybe tomorrow," said Eragon, storing the saddle with his blankets. "It's too late now." In truth, he was not eager to fly again, not after the disastrous outcome of his last attempt. Dinner was made quickly. It tasted good, even though it was simple. While they ate, Brom looked over the fire at Eragon and asked, "Will we leave tomorrow? There isn't any reason to stay." "I suppose not." He shifted. "Eragon, I must apologize about how events have turned out. I never wished for this to happen. Your family did not deserve such a tragedy. If there was anything I could do to reverse it, I would. This is a terrible situation for all of us." Eragon sat in silence, avoiding Brom's gaze. Then Brom said, "We're going to need horses." "Maybe you do, but I have Saphira." Brom shook his head. "There isn't a horse alive that can outrun a flying dragon, and Saphira is too young to carry us both. Besides, it'll be safer if we stay together, and riding is faster than walking." "But that'll make it harder to catch the Razak," protested Eragon. "On Saphira, I could probably find them within a day or 2. On horses, it'll take much longer, if it's even possible to overtake their lead on ground." Brom said slowly, "That's a chance you'll have to take if I'm going to accompany you." Eragon thought it over. "All right," he grumbled, "we'll get horses. But you have to buy them. I don't have any money, and I don't want to steal again. It's wrong." "That depends on your point of view," corrected Brom, with a slight smile. "Before you set out on this venture, remember that your enemies, the Razak, are the king's servants. They will be protected wherever they go. Laws do not stop them. In cities, they'll have access to abundant resources and willing servants. Also keep in mind that nothing is more important to Galbatorix than recruiting or killing you, though word of your existence probably hasn't reached him yet. The longer you evade the Razak, the more desperate he'll become. He'll know that every day you'll be growing stronger and that each passing moment will give you another chance to join his enemies. You must be very careful, as you may easily turn from the hunter into the hunted." Eragon was subdued by the strong words. Pensive, he rolled a twig between his fingers. "Enough talk," said Brom. "It's late and my bones ache. We can say more tomorrow." Eragon nodded and banked the fire.